Hollywood, wake up. The rules have changed. OpenAI just whispered to the studios. We will learn from your stories, your films, your frames, unless you tell us no. 3 centuries of ask permission now flip to we are taking it. Stop us if you can. Since 1710, creators own their work. Their art was sacred. The labor respected. But in 2025, copyright becomes a ghost. A burden shifted, millions of videos, thousands of studios, and no eye enough to watch. The math is very simple. The truth is uncomfortable. The creator must guard their treasure forever. And the reality check? This isn't a disruption. It's a theft in a gilded frame. Piracy dressed as progress. A subscription to someone else's centuries of craft. Today on Bootstrap Banter, we dive into Sora 2, AI in Hollywood, and what it really means for creators everywhere. Because whether you craft films, pitch startups, or coach athletes, the rule of creations are being rewritten. And the question is, will you adapt or simply fade away? Whether ask for permission or opt out from the consent, a consent versus controversy, or there is more to unpack. Let's break down in this particular episode the area where actually the permissions were implicit, and later in the influential area, the permissions got copyrighted, and today the copyrighted had just become a progress or a norm. What it really means, how we are planning to unfold with this AI generation, and more is what we will be unfolding. Just to give you a glance, today we are actually discussing what Sora 2 can actually do for you, what it cannot, or where it simply struggles. The ripple effects on creators, filmmakers, marketeers that is gonna have, and how the Bootstrap Banter founders, the solopreneurs, are actually gonna thrive. Whether this is democratize the video storytelling for the small businesses, or whether it's actually pirating something that we never ever asked for. Ethics and originality. Where do we really draw line with Sora 2, and how Bootstrap founders can actually use Sora 2 smartly instead of fearing it and thrive it? Well, that's what we are unpacking. If you feel curious, if you decide to stay with us today and eager to learn what we can actually do together with Sora 2 or with in general AI evolution that's happening around, I think as a Bootstrap Banter, you're going to walk away with good wisdom pearls today, and you're going to actually use it in your own business, whether you're struggling, whether you're trying, or you're testing your pilots. I think this is going to help you for sure. So stay tuned and let us know what you want to unpack in future episodes. Well, indeed, this episode is a must tune if you are a Bootstrap Banter. So in the Bootstrap Banter, we generally discusses all the fundas that I, as a Bootstrap Banter, your host Pranali, is implementing in her own podcast and the business and the passionpreneur pilots that she's testing. And these are the same fundas as and when we learn, we try to unfold for you so that you don't miss out on the research that we are experimenting today, and you get benefited just like that on this Bootstrap Banter. This episode of Passionate Pulse is brought to you by Atlantic.net, the official cloud hosting partner of the San Jose Earthquakes and the trusted choice for startups and developers. Get fast, secure, and compliant cloud hosting, plus free credits and a free 8 GB server for your first year. Use promo code PULSE50 at Atlantic.net while it lasts. Atlantic.net, built for builders, trusted by champions. Are you a VC or an investor looking to share insights and connect with game changing startups? Capital Pulse brings real conversations on funding, scaling, and startup success. Be our guest and share your expertise. Sponsor the series and gain premium exposure while supporting future changemakers over Silicon Valley's radio and across global podcast and YouTube platforms. Join us now. Email us at info@passionatepulse.com or simply call us at 341-209-0102 and join today. Well, there are so many conspiracies that are happening around. The Sora 2 cannot take our work, which we have, poured into so many decades, or we have learned the skills, we have experimented enough, we have failed enough, and we have actually doomed ourselves so much to get this success. And you just cannot snatch like this on the type of snap. Well, whatever it is, let's unpack what it is not, and how you should actually use it to make sure that things stay in line. So let's deep dive to this. What Sora 2 can actually do for you? Well, it is just another AI text to video tool to brief or to start with. It's just an evaluation that we are just, finding out and blurring the line between the creative ideation and the actual film production. With just prompt, you can now generate a multi-shot, high-resolution video sequences that looks perfectly cinematic, coherent, and contextually aware. If you have seen the earlier softwares that we have used, or you must have even used the Sora first model, that was actually was very much struggling, and it was not creating something that was real, and yet as an editor you have to morph it or add or tune to it more so that it looks perfect. Whereas today, imagine just typing, a director walks through a foggy LA street at dawn, and camera pans behind him as he just adjusts his cap and looks at a flickering neon sign. Within seconds, Sora2 is producing a sequence that includes multiple camera angles, lighting transitions, realistic human motion, and even emotion in body language. The storytelling power here lies in the composition, and not like, how you're actually shooting it, how you're actually curating it or crafting it. It just understands scenes not as an individual clips, but as a part of a narrative thread that it's really needed. Well, it can also do maintaining of character consistency, the camera, lighting, framing as per the cinematic language that it actually, using and doing it. It can incorporate the sound and the ambient cues for more immersive, realistic effects that your films or your ads or your shorts are actually looking to take forward. Well, a very fine details like a fabric movement, reflections, or the subtle expressions that mimic the human nuances are gonna actually be your generative images or the videos that you are actually looking to get as an output from Sora 2. So it is yet ready to replace human, just to be on the very realistic note checking mode. The filmmakers just cannot simply use Sora 2 as it is. But, the struggling areas are immense as of now, or as of today, we are recording this episode. Well, the logic and the continuity error, it's still gonna, exist. It might forget the object positions or the character movements between the shots, and then you might actually have to sync it by your own prompts and give them the cue, hey, the shot 2 was not as per the shot 1, and these are the elements that were missing, and some human intervention need to happen to bring that sync. For example, a coffee cup might just switch its hands or just vanish. Actually, if I look at this, those were the shot errors or the scene errors we have actually witnessed in older time movies. I still remember there is a film called as Yarana where the Amitabh Bachchan and Amjad Khan had played the role, and they were doing the gladiating movement. They were actually doing the parasailing where Amjad Khan asked Amitabh to start first, and then he gets stuck, and then there's two of them do it together. I still remember vividly that Amitabh Bachchan helmet suddenly switches from white to black, and that kind of the cinematic errors that we have witnessed. In fact, in the earlier newspapers, various movies from Hollywood to Bollywood to Tollywood to even Korean movies have witnessed these kind of errors, and the film journalists used to write about those nuances and point it out and say, hey, you just made this kind of a flop stuff. Similar gonna you're gonna observe it in today's world as well when you're creating the films with the Sora 2. So you might actually have to sit there and intervene and do the things. But what it can ease out, I feel, is on the note of prompt, on the note of correction, you should be able to get things in sync. Whereas earlier, if the film had shot, it just shot, and now whatever the mistakes have happened, you just have to carry with it. So I think those are the logic and continuity errors that it's gonna vanish with your additional prompt. But well, it still struggles in that area. Well, dialogue and emotions, That's a big question. While it can simulate a lot of expressions, or it can, lack emotional authenticity that comes from the real human actors or well directed performances, I doubt if it can replace even now, unless it takes the models. I'm still hopeful being a techie here, unless it depicts the models that, when certain emotions happen, exactly in how much angle, exactly in how much space or how much pace things move, it is still able to put it on the human face and kind of, give it the emotions. But there's still a long journey to map as of today. The cultural context and subtlety that it blends, it still doesn't grasp the cultural nuances, maybe whether something crucial for storytelling and resonance that, a real human can experience. Consider, like, there are a lot of NLP models that exist where the translation is contextual and still coming out, but the dialects, when it comes for the cultural languages, it's still not capturing that hold. It's just a matter of data sets and the training, but as of today when we are discussing about it, it is still struggling in those areas. And think about the computational cost. Whatever images, whatever films that it is generating, at the end your computer is processing, some servers are processing and getting things done. So the computational cost is going to be very huge right now, and long and complex sequences are still resource intensive. And if I have to even quickly brush out the concept of ownership rights, which we will deep dive, by the way, in the episode, on a very, very big note, the ownership of AI generated footage still sits in the legal gray zone. Whether it's a statue of an reversible model, or, what we are actually looking at, well, we'll definitely deep dive to that. So, in short, it is a story accelerator and not a storyteller. That's the period. Will empower the creators to visualize the ideas very instantly, in fact, and the depth, the emotion, and the soul. I think it still needs to come from the human minds, the directors, the creative writers, and the minds behind the scenes who are actually depicting it. As we had touched the ownership rights and the concept, I think the first and the most segment where, I really want to get hang on, and, let's just embrace the fact of this battle of copyrights and the ethics and originality. Where are we planning to draw the line? So here is where the things can really get interesting and very little uncomfortable, or are very much uncomfortable. We have all seen what a OpenAI Sora 2 can now really do. On the prompt, you can turn things massively, on the line of text. You can create the cinematic scenes, and it can even, do something that was expensive resources for someone to create that kind of a production. Whereas now, behind all this tech magic, there is one question that is giving Hollywood, Bollywood, and many other film industries a sleepless night today: that who actually owns what, and what is being created when machines is co-creating the story with you. Well, if you look inside, definitely it is not a dream in isolation. Sora 2 is not a dream in isolation. It is a purely data, the millions of clip, rather the billions of frames, and the visual movements created by the real artists. It's a data that has been trained upon, right? The painters, the cinematographer, the VFX designers, the graphics designers, the artist work, the people who have spent years and years honing their craft, none of them necessarily have given them a permission for their work to be used just as a training fuel. So here is an ethical tightrope that I actually see that we are going to witness is, if your AI generated short film draws from those billions of creative works that has happened in the past, have created it, and can we still call it as an original today, what we are planning to generate on the text prompts? Well, everybody is fighting for it, including Hollywood, the Writers Guild, the Screen Actor Guild, the AFTRA, both have said loud and clear: AI simply can't replace human creativity or replicate an actor likeness without a consent. Some artists have even found that the AI tools copyright their signature styles, without any credit or the compensation. Earlier, The artist would gain the royalty if, there's certain styles were patented or, have put for the royalty fees. Even the advertising campaigns, if the particular celebrity is coming and acting it, and the profit that it keeps generating because of what has happened, I mean, then their stake with the particular product used to, convert into the royalty for the lifetime basis. And this is how they actually, made money. But now look at this, where the compensation line, where the credit line is going, and can it still be on the legal side? It's really, really foggy. The US Copyright Office says that the AI generated content can't be copyrighted unless there is a substantial human input, right? But what does that even mean? And how do we say that this is still a human protected? Is a writing perfect prompt really enough, or is an editing an AI scene is a human input? Where it is drawing and actually capturing, and where you can actually organically stamp that this is human made or this is human intervened. It's still a lot of questions that we are yet to get an answer on, but there is where the next big wave of media ethics is going to begin. We have to rewrite the rules everywhere now. It's not just for the piece of software or the piece of algorithm that you are developing, but it is across all the fields, including media, entertainment, sports, analytics, you name the fields, and those are all gonna get impacted where these media ethics are gonna kick in. Not just what AI can do for you, but it's really how we can define the authorship, how we define the consents, how we define the originality. What if somebody just, try to mimic a writing of, taking Shakespeare's from one culture, taking big writers from different cultures and blending it together and calling it as a craft? Is that something that we are witnessing? Is it kind of a, the remix of authors that you do, and then you say that, oh, this is original? Well, the remix, we never claimed it to be original. It is a remix. But in this kind of way, when the crafts are gonna, get originated, it's really nobody would look at and understand and figure it out from where this is taking. Whether the seconds of a shot derived as an inspiration can still be falling under the copyright bucket, or even the writing of drama or the screen thing or the advertisement, where earlier every model was crafted for the copyrighted issues. How we are gonna model it, even, and even if there are few seconds, or if there is a a certain chapter that is inspired for something, and we call it as a real world inspiration, what it really means, how we are gonna even decode the particular remix and say that, oh, this is actually not from the real life, but this is actually from the imaginative crafts that have been created for so long and have taken it from here. I mean, it's so much to debate. Maybe we should have a lawyer on talking about how these laws are going to get reshaped. I think it's going to be an interesting discussion to host. So if you at all know anyone who is on the AI side of lawsuits and debating about these laws, we will love to have them on this Bootstrap Banter and the Passionate Pulse podcast, and have this meaningful discussion about how these data provenance credits are gonna shape for tomorrow, how these data sets and the artists are gonna help shape their outputs and still preserve the licensing choices, how they can become the transparent licensing choices, saying that yes, you can train my work, or no, this is something is mine. And if you're training on my work or you're making a model out of me, you better license it, and you have the royalty fees associated with it. Honestly, this future of filmmaking is just a man versus machine battle, or it's even more deep dive to that. Consent versus convenience, or it is also a way for somebody who is having their own original signature style can become a billionaire through the royalty of licensing. I think, look at this, the possibilities are simply beyond the imagination that we are looking at today. When I look at this and I think about it, oh, think about this, going the Tom Cruise, or thinking about Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan ji, and they go and say that I'm patenting my signature work. Well, initially I'm investing it to patent it, and then AI models can be curated, the licensing can be official, but I get XYZ amount per license shared. And it's even better than the stocks we invest. Somebody can patent their signature styles, give it to AI for training, and simply begin a trillionaire. Hmm. The question to ask, the question or the imagination or the possibilities to imagine. There is a lot going on here. I'm sure you have your own opinions too. So, as a listener, as an audience, or as a filmmaker, as a startup owner, as a technologist, whoever you are, even the sports craftsmanship, the sports coaches, let me know what you think about this era and what Sora 2 is bringing more, the possibilities, the cons of it, and everything that we're trying to tightrope with this limit of originality versus consent, convenience, and whatever you call it. Do let me know your opinions. Write to me at pranali at passionatepulse.com, or simply ring us at 341-209-0102. WhatsApp or text us your opinions about this particular whatever that's happening around, and also the episode that we are indulging into and trying to touch base in this limited time. A lot many angles that Sora 2 is bringing, the possibility and other nuances. But before we dwell further, I had to touch upon the ethics and code of conduct and consent and so much that for last 300 years we actually had asked for the permissions, now had suddenly changed the mode. Think about it, like if I have to really break down, since 1710 the copyright was always opt-in. If you have created something, let's say you have created an amazing painting, or whether you have written some plays, or you have written some poetry, or you have created any films, whatever it is, it was simply that person's art and it belonged to them. Well, fast forward, people had to start writing explicitly this particular content is copyrighted. When the YouTube came into picture, lot of things was inspired and things, and still had to gone into the bucket of inspiration to copyrighted. And now, with this OpenAI 2025, as of now, we're talking, it is simply the copyright is now opt out. AI companies own everything unless you file the paperwork. Well, the math of this problem is millions of billions of videos, thousands of studios, and zero realistic way to monitor is the math problem now. From where are you capturing? From a small artist who is, putting its sweat out, and till then that particular artist had not got any visibility factor, and now this work is it's simply gone on the snap of the moment. Or the smallest of the small artist is now at a place where they don't have to shell out or sell their work to the ones which had the titles. We witness many stories, including writers selling their craft to somebody else for the sake of running their family, the poets selling their songs to the bigger songwriters just because they could not afford to get into the vivid zone of, or the nepotism zone of, a certain creative fields. Or now those are all empowered because of all these small platforms that exist today. In fact, the lot of assistant directors who just got the AD titles, but in the behind the scenes they were the principal directors who who have curated the whole film, a slog for it, have put immense amount of sweat, and some director with the big title, big pockets, was owning their work and giving their titles. Now the things have absolutely reversed the gears. With this Sora 2, the film production quality is gonna go immense. Although somebody does not get that kind of investment solely on the bootstrap budget, somebody can curate the at most grade level films, or the artwork, or name it. Things are gonna boom just like that. So this is like a battle that we are looking at 2025, whether the individuals are getting empowered, or the big banners are shutting off, or where really we are trying to draw the lines. The burden shift has happened for sure. The right holders must police every AI platform forever, and plan to do the licensings on it. Is it a description? Should we call it a description or a subscription model of theft? um well, that's the nuances to deep dive and figure it out. A company worth billion just reverse the statue of Anne and call it a progress. I don't know that. I don't know if you guys know, but statue of Anne was one of the policy that was specially made for the gamblers loss, and that had shifted how the gambler loss can still protect their losses from tax and so much of stuff. Well, I don't want to get into that policy or the proper lawsuit that had come, but it is that kind of again a shift that we are looking at with Sora 2. But when I actually think, what are the some greatest things that it can do? Oh, really? Tell us what it can do. So just think about Steven Spielberg. Everybody knows this director. It just doesn't direct the scenes, right? He direct the hearts. We have seen it about in the E.T. or Schindler's List, the lighting, the pauses, the child face that lit with the wonders. And those are the algorithmic choices for now us to take it upon, but that time they were not the algorithmic choices. He directed films with different eyesight altogether. They were very instinctual, born from live experiences, the empathy, the intuition, and so much of, the experiences, the bitter, the sweet, everything had come together to that intuition where the Steven Spielberg have directed the movies, right? Can AI generate that kind of emotional moment? Well, no. It doesn't know that much of emotions yet. It just recognizes it. Maybe it will recognize the patterns to look for it. And maybe one of the pattern, if fits well, it can stitch for it. But it still can do what the greatest directors have done. And if I have to relate to this Bollywood style, simple humor, social heart, the Rishikesh Mukherjee's touch, the Rishida's touch that we said, it was a master of simplicity, the man who turned everyday life into the timeless cinema for entire era to witness, to enjoy, the whole families to come together. Films like Anand, Golmaal, Bawarchi, they just didn't rely on these grand sets like Sanjay Leela Bhansali has it today because of the production pouches that they carry today, or the wallets for the digital spectacles that cannot bring. But they were really relied on the humanity. Always people have praised the Rishida's movie, and also the actors and the crew have crept upon that very low budget films. We don't get anything out of it, but the fame was immense, because Rishida had found the magic in the middle class emotions, a smile shared between the friends, the vulnerability behind the humor, the dignity in the simplicity. Well, AI could generate a perfect frame of living room, a perfect recreational laughter and the dialogue delivery that somebody has already done so. But would it be ever understand that the texture, the relationship that Rishida had captured? The typical shots that he would take from the wide angles and then going to the close up and showing that every bits and pieces of it. He directed the ordinary that became an extraordinary. That's something even the smartest algorithms can simulate. And this is where the full stop have to occur. I can go on and on to talk about whether the narrative philosophy of the Nolan's mindset, whether Christopher Nolan has, different storytelling technique. He blended with time. He challenged the perception. He placed the human consciousness, which could mimic because of the inceptions, spinning hallway of interstellar wormholes or the patterns that exist. But could it really understand this heartbreak of father leaving his daughter to save the humanity? The emotions that ache in pure human authorship. Lot to question with Sora 2 yet. Think about the Bansalis, that the motion, the colors, the chaos, the culture, everything woven into this visual symphony. I'm not sure how all these things can just be simply replicated. But yeah, what it can do now is, giving these directors, giving the costume designers a way to visualize whether this is gonna even fit. It's gonna go and help us, fail fast but progress. That kind of a model we will witness today, from chaos to even going back to, the visual clarity. The visual chaos to visual clarity is where the things are gonna head. Whether you're a storyboarder, creative assistant, the costume designer, or even the editor, who is looking forward to edit scenes or add certain impacts, or the sound engineer, I think all of this is gonna enhance us together. Rather we do all the work and put sweat and blood into it and then fail, including, emptying the wallets. I think it's gonna give us that minimalistic moment, you know how it's gonna create together. What does this moment matter later? And should we be investing in this kind of designing, or should we be doing this kind of stuff? So it is gonna, give us a tool in hand indeed. The way we are testing our prototypes before we produce in technical or any product that we are building, I think the filmmakers are also the different sectors are gonna get that kind of a tool handy. Even the writers who is writing a big play with certain concept that was told to, or certain concept that he has touched with, he's gonna get that wiggle room of playing and testing his prototype before he even produce. Visualize the ideas, visualize that canvas. So imagine this 30 seconds AI generated teaser of your product launch or a video or an app ad, not just through slides, but through the emotions on the screen, and even helping you, tapping into that particular product that you're designing. It's creative, non creative, any fields. So I think this is the agility it's gonna bring to you. To everyone, rather, prototype and test your prototype before you even decide to produce. Every tech products nowadays we are building with this kind of, landing page, and then going and building the products. If the landing page has some traction, whether it is showing interest, there is so much that we have already discussed in the Bootstrap Banter, the type of architecture that it lays with. Similar things is gonna happen, right, in every fields of life today. Affordable marketing, well, bingo. Bootstrap budgets are really can be on the shoestring budgets today. And let's be very real, the traditional video production is very expensive. Even the startups struggling to, market their products to different channel, to different demographics, they have to create a different ads, right? I mean, as a marketeer, as a pre-sale person, as a salesperson, I know what sweat we have put together in different demographics, even, certain tech product adoption, or even the feature releases for particular geography. When we had to do to any of our technical products, we had to go immense to that market to do the research and, test it out whether this is going to work, this is going to not work. We had to bring in the alpha customers as our designer partners. But now this particular Sora 2, what it's going to do is a 2-minute brand film, which was costing thousands for us to, produce and show it as a prototype designing. Well, now we are doing it at a fraction of budget, and the founders can really leverage this, the high quality visual narratives, and explain the videos, the user stories, even the brand campaigns at a fraction of cost today. And this means now we are more equipped to do A to B visual storytelling. And just like the test landing pages, well, you can try multiple creative directions. You can be playful, you can be emotic, you can be dramatic, you can be animator style, without burning through your entire marketing budget through it. And the good part is, you don't have to wait till somebody is developing it. The good part is with Sora 2, you can simply get the gist of it, and then, further you can improvise it. So in a way, it is enabling a lot of marketeers. Even the marketing firms don't have to think like, oh, we are doomed now. No, at fraction of cost, now you can give top notch quality advertising to others. And will it replace you and just, a solopreneur, or the one person company can do it all? Well, it's possible, but think about the time that somebody has to invest towards it. Can they do it? Do they have to learn all sort of skills? Do they really need to develop all sort of creative eyes? Indeed, yes. If somebody is willing to do that with the time cost, that that equation or the whatever that works out for them, that is fine. But for them, who the time scale and this kind of expensive curves that we are looking at for learning creative eye, blending it together, getting the hold of it, and yet producing it, that's still a nightmare. Okay, let's just be human realistic here with the capacities that we are of, and where the product we want to ship or map it to, we will still need a lot of agencies help or different teams help to build that kind of the finesse structure, or the outputs from everywhere that we're looking out to. So the jobs are still going to get outsourced, but the outsourced jobs are going to give you much more power and much more professional output, even at shoestring budget today, if somebody is smart behind the stage working at it. So I think it is, expanding our horizons, also empowering every individual if they are very, keen to it. Think about, like, some editors or the graphic designers who have immense creativity angle. They can do much more than, what things were earlier costing it to them. If they had to bring in the different licenses from Adobe to even going on to some different AI agents, multiple licensing, they had to own it. That would have costed them, let's see, a Y amount. Whereas if they just opt in for one of these combined license, which is giving them all, probably they're still saving the cost and giving the output that they wanted to give. And maybe the cost to profit ratio will increase there, or the things can go different ways. In the time that they have, they could deliver multiple projects and earn more. So there are so many equations rapidly evolving with this kind of evolutions that are happening. The rapid story and the iteration, of course, the product visioning, everybody is behind it. So the simulation, the visual simulation is gonna, go much easy for everyone. Also, when I look at this, a lot of founders struggle to tell marketeers how your product should look. And they fail to tell the advertising agencies that, this is what my product is going to do when the product launch is happening, and this is how you should be doing it. And there are multiple layers and had to add just to, get the right explanation. But think about now with these prompts, that even the founders who are not that communicative enough can write the prompts, can improvise on the prompts and understand the mistakes that they're doing, and can get better at communication with somebody else. So this is also a phenomenal shift that I see, that the visual communicating trust is going to build, and the actual communication can also be improved when the two teams have to act together, right? It can align them better, and it can add a good brand tone if they are doing this visual communication to their audiences, to their potential customers, even to the investors. Think about you being a founder. Now you want to go and pitch to VCs. Some people, some founders are very good in narration, very good in building the trust through the voice or conviction or whatever. Some people are having the conviction, but they are just not impactful enough when they're talking. And that's a skill they need to develop. Probably the lot of geeks are always facing this barrier. For them, can it be good that their models are coming together and explaining it through video? And lot of VCs nowadays, by the way, if you are not aware, lot of VCs nowadays are asking for a pitch video versus having a direct meeting over the remote setup video style, or even meeting in person, which are like meeting in person goes generally when you're getting the bigger checks, but the initial small investors are also working with the remote setup. And even to that, we are shrinking it, that just send us the video pitch and we'll let you know, and then we can call upon the next meeting. That video pitch can create the 100 score for you, and then you deep dive further. So I think it's gonna loosen out a lot of the time bandwidth that somebody is gonna invest towards it. And these campaigns can actually be fruitful for all of you bootstrap banters. So, investor storytelling and the pitch enhancement is what also I feel that 60-second AI generated product vision film can do, showing your why with the cinematic clarity and the perfect pitch and boiling movements, or whatever data that you feed in and look out as an output. So I feel all in all, it's a human creativity clubbing with the AI efficiency. And that is where the founders are gonna get leverage, right? So let's humanize it. When I talk about the founders, the visionaries behind the product development who are gonna, use this efficiently, it also tells me that when I read a lot of directors' work in the filmmaking style, and a lot of actors, some of them are very comfortable working with certain directors, some of them are not. And when you go and deep dive about these filmmakers and ask these questions, why certain directors are great, why certain directors are not, so there are a lot of stories that the every actors will tell. Some will say that, oh, the XYZ director was very good in narration. So the story that he wanted to depict, the story that he wanted to curate, and the art that we are supposed to showcase, we were very clear what the director is looking out for him, because they have a good storytelling skill. Some of them would even say that, it's like left to us. We're just given the scene, we were just told these kind of emotions, but we really don't know what the director is looking forward to drive the message on, and then we were on our own to figure it out, types, and deliver what we're supposed to understand from that. Then the third type of actors would, the directors are also in the queue, where they say like, um, they come, they storytell, they even showcase you what result that they're looking for. They're wonderful actors along with the storytellers. And then it is very easy for the actors to work with such kind of director, because they know what he's looking forward to drive, the physical language of it, and everything that somebody can narrate to. But now the directors who do not have that kind of style inherently, the acting style or the storytelling style, even the writers, who are not good in narration, or talking about certain concept to producers that I'm planning to write something like this, but they don't understand where, and then the gap exists because somebody is not good at narration. Maybe for them the Sora 2 can become a wonderful tool to go ahead and exactly depict what they're looking forward to, just by writing it and showing that visual that this is what we are doing. So whether it's the crafting authentic narratives, the understanding emotions, connecting with community, where the machines can actually fail, but they can actually empower all of these artists, as well as the founders, as well as the marketeers, as well as the salespeople, to do their jobs far better. So, think about this. It's not a fear, it's a feedback loop that we are looking with this kind of creative labs that are coming up. And also, Sora 2 is going to see a lot of competition, right? So the models are going to evolve. There are multiple models. We ourselves, as a podcasters, are using it to create this kind of storytelling. When we record the podcast and we have lot of errors going on behind the scene, because it's someday the studio is not right, someday where I'm recording the C-suite executive in their offices, where they have host the startups, there's too much of chaos behind the scene, and we have to eliminate it, process it, and make it look like perfect for you to tune in. Well, though that is also the magic, the tools that are empowering us. And at a shoestring budget, we are doing it. I mean, of course, not literally shoestring. Sora 2 is still causing you the license fees. And for now, if you don't know, it is invite only. So if you get the invite only code for Sora 2, you should experiment and check out. Also share it with us, for our audience. Give us that invite code if you have anything extra. We'd love to see and experiment out too. So it cannot stop film production, it cannot stop the failed pitches, it cannot stop all of it, but it cannot can help enable you the wins. Think about the fluff films, think about the failed pitch decks, think about even the miss sports win. Yes, everything can be pre-visualized now, starting from film to sport to even your pitch decks, right? There are all the strategies that you can, make it work. Think about, so when I was, explaining about the sports part, you can implicitly recreate the match conditions to visualize plays, the strategies, and even the crowd energy reactions before stepping onto the field. And a particular sports person, if somebody is very focused at it and getting disturbed with the crowd's reactions that are going to happen. Think about the soccer. If you have missed the goal and then your audience in the stadium is reacting in a way that is creating a pressure, which probably for the sports person was not, trained to, or was not adapting to it. A lot of things can just, we lose in the present moment. What if we try to train the sports players with all these nuances? Now on the game field, their game changes, right? The degree shifts. I think this is where the magic can unfold. Imagine that the cricket coach using Sora 2 to simulate how field placement and the baller speed combination play out against the specific batters, right? Also, the soccer field, if there is a point 0.5 change that you do in the midfield spacing, you change it and just, try to visualize the what if outcomes and see it. I think the coach is going to enable its own team, right? So storytelling in motion, every pass. So think about it. A soccer team could analyze the player movements and simulate what if outcomes. Not just a soccer team, but any playing games, any sports that we're talking about. Also, train your players with the synergy in the actual ground that they're gonna get. Sometimes, even the theater actors getting the first theater break, and when they actually go on the stage with full audience hall and receive the reactions that were indeed praising their things, or indeed going with the emotions, crying, and the particular actor is not trained to take those responses, can lose the presence of mind for a bit, can lose that heartbeat, and the entire craft can, shift. So, all those shifting moments can be prevented now with this kind of simulation. And this is where we talk about, right? A smarter storyboarding for films, for founders, for athletes, and visualize the journeys of characters, the company, the player, and pump up their confidence. The Bootstrap founders can storyboard their startup journeys like the filmmakers do with the characters, and talk about their products, advertise their product in a phenomenal way that every solopreneur Bootstrap Banter is now empowered to take that $1 billion shift that they were just waiting for, or get that right investment to fuel their resources, to, change their computational models, to add more resources, to bring that finesse in the products, be it a film, be it a sport, be it a company, the tech, the non-tech, be it a mechanical products that you are designing. Lot of stuff can change. The brands can visualize their rise, the brands can visualize their league, the pro levels, and bring a data back, the inform models for them to, rise. Now think about it. The example, a Bootstrap sports apparel founder can produce Sora Power video showing how real athletes evolve through data training, connecting emotionally with the both fans and the investors, right? So initially, when people were launching their brands like the big apparels or the fashion accessories, or even the makeup accessories, right? Whatever it is, think about it. You would wanted somebody with a celebrity style to come in and act and give that perfect shot. But today, you can use their licensed models if available, and your smallest brand can now afford that celebrity at a licensing cost versus paying the full fledged amount. Well, isn't that wonderful to have? It is wonderful to have. Of course, it's a new age that we are looking. That the beauty lies not in how data doesn't replace the human instinct, but it how refines it, right? Rehearsing before your reality is what the norm, the creative rehearsal room is gonna bring, right? With the Sora to become accessible for films, for pitches, for games, and different sort of product making that you're thinking. Now, your guesswork, which was actually a guesswork prior, or some analytics with the insights can provide you that measure confidence. Now, everybody is equipped to get that measure confidence, reducing the financial risk at many fields of life, reducing that emotional burnout and the creative failures that people went through in the past. Many directors have talked about, like, they went through a depressed era because a particular film, which was big budget film, have absolutely turned flop, and then nobody was ready to invest with them. Now all these risk factors are gonna eliminate, and that depression that we're talking is gonna eliminate. I mean, there are two waves, with AI coming the depression, or with AI removing the depression. And I hone on to the different style where AI can remove the depression, because now every smart pairpreneurs looking out, and where there was a risk aversion mode happening, now we are actually getting this, the calculated risk. We can avoid all these risks, financial, emotional, and creative, and so much and so forth, with these tools empowering us now. So we can absolutely rehearse before the reality comes, right? It is gonna give us that measure confidence to march our journey, and equip us phenomenally well. That's my take on Sora 2 and a lot of AI things and the tools that are empowering us. But what about you? What you think? Whether it's a cult or whether it's a blessing? Let me know what your curiosity, what your scrappy experiments that are telling you. And as a bootstrap banters, is this a disruption into the direction, or it's a conversation and the chaos? What were we really, hosting? So let me know where the studios are now freaking out. The solopreneurs are quietly smiling, because this isn't the end of the creativity. It's just the beginning of access. Well, I'm sure it is not replacing the creators, it is rewarding the curious. So, tune to the Bootstrap Banter future episode, and let's talk about how to make this more creative for co founders and everything. We will bring on a lot of guests in this particular AI series, with the film industry related, as well as non-film industry related, and the technology point of view. We are going to discuss in our Passionate Pulse episode how this is turning the edge, how this is tweaking the stories, and how every bootstrap banter is now leveraged to make disruptions. Well, I'm signing off, but till then, make sure stay passionate, stay curious, and stay with AI. Hello, Passionate Pulse listeners. Pradani here, your host. Are you a business owner looking to amplify your brand's reach? Or maybe you know an expert who deserves the mic? This is your moment. Advertise with us or recommend a fascinating guest for our podcast. Unlock the airwaves and connect with Bay Area enthusiasts. Dial at 341-209-0102 and let's make your story roar. Passionate Pulse Podcast, where your tales ignite. Call us now at 341-209-0102. Let's champion the spirit of positive change together.